A female student mysteriously disappeared after an afternoon bike ride with her boyfriend on a cornfield. A deranged individual with intentions of producing pornographic content planned to kidnap girls to use as actresses. The police investigation led to a horrifying discovery of a vast property with a terrifying warehouse. Inside the warehouse was a large barrel filled with women's underwear and a blood-stained white freezer buried underground. What was even more shocking was the killer's background, which sent chills down the police's spines. So, who is the kidnapper and murderer of the girl? Why does the perpetrator keep claiming innocence even when charged? Join us in uncovering this mysterious case. But first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to receive notifications whenever there's a new video. This is a real case that occurred in the town of Metamora, Ohio, USA. On the evening of July 19, Sheila Vakulik passed by her daughter Sierra Joffin's room, but found it empty, with no sign of Sierra. This worried her, as Sierra was always a well-behaved girl who rarely stayed out late and would always call her family if she did. Trusting her intuition that something was wrong, Sheila began asking her other 4 children, but they didn't know where Sierra was either. Sheila decided to wait a little longer, hoping her daughter would come home. But the more she waited, the more anxious she became. Unable to wait any longer, Sheila called Josh Kolosinski, Sierra's boyfriend, to find out what was going on. Josh recounted that he and Sierra had met in the afternoon to go biking, and as they neared her house, Sierra told him he didn't need to accompany her further and that she'd bike home on her own, promising to text when she arrived. However, after waiting for a while without hearing from his girlfriend, Josh texted her, but Sierra didn't respond. Initially, Josh thought maybe Sierra was busy or preoccupied, but after hearing from Sierra's mother, he started to feel worried. Sheila was extremely frightened after hearing Josh's account of the last time he saw Sierra and immediately called the police. Shortly after, the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation dispatched Agent Megan Roberts to take over the case, launching a search for Sierra around 1 a.m. on July 20th. Based on Sheila's statement, the police began their investigation and questioned Josh, as he was the last person to see Sierra before she went missing. "I remember exactly what I said to her. I kissed her goodbye, told her I loved her, and reminded her to text when she got home," Josh said. To prove his account, Josh also provided short video clips on Snapchat. In the videos, Sierra looked very cheerful, riding her purple bike and chatting happily with Josh. Watching the video, it was clear that Sierra and her boyfriend had a sweet, happy date. Josh seemed to have no motive to kidnap his girlfriend. Based on Josh's testimony and evidence, the police initially confirmed that he was not involved in the disappearance. However, the police were still at a loss, unsure where to begin searching for traces of Sierra in the thick night that enveloped the town. In the midst of their confusion, an observant officer noticed a crucial clue from the short video that Josh had posted on Snapchat. The video inadvertently captured an image of Sierra while she was biking, showing that she was wearing a Fitbit smartwatch. The smartwatch not only tracked her steps, but also stored her location data and synced with her phone, enabling the police to trace Sierra's final journey. Using the location data from Sierra's watch, the police determined the route she had taken before she disappeared. The final destination was a vast cornfield near the area where Josh and Sierra had parted ways to head home. This cornfield was not far from residential areas, but it was isolated and hard to access, posing challenges to the investigation. While inspecting the field, the police found several unusual signs that could be related to Sierra's disappearance. Corn stalks were broken, bent, and trampled, forming a strange path through the field. Moving deeper inside, investigators found Sierra's purple bike just half a mile from her home. The bike's handlebars had traces of dried blood, heightening the police's concerns for the girl's safety. Next to the bike, Sierra's familiar sunglasses lay among the grass. However, notably, the police also found a second pair of sunglasses, along with a screwdriver. None of these items belonged to Sierra, raising suspicions that a second person had been at the scene. Observing the evidence at the scene, Officer Megan Roberts felt a chill, sensing that this was the spot where Sierra had been abducted. Holding on to hope that Sierra was still alive, authorities immediately launched a wide-ranging search, as the longer the delay, the greater the threat to the victim's life. To ensure the victim's safety if she was still alive, the authorities kept the information about their findings confidential and blocked access to the crime scene. Meanwhile, the Joffin family was on edge with worry, not knowing what the police had discovered. Sheila repeatedly inquired about the investigation, but the police kept the information confidential and did not allow anyone, including family members, to visit the crime scene. When the FBI informed the family about the discovery of the bike on the morning of July 21st, Sheila knew something had happened to her daughter. At the same time, the police received a blood-stained helmet from a farmer who found it by the roadside on the night Joffin disappeared. The farmer handed the helmet over to the police the next day after seeing news about Sierra's disappearance. Based on the evidence, investigators believed that a motorcyclist was involved in Sierra's abduction. At this point, Sierra's boyfriend, Josh Kolosinski, once again became a potential suspect, as he rode a motorcycle and was the last person to see Sierra alive. Summoned for a second interrogation, Josh didn't complain and immediately cooperated with authorities, as he was just as anxious as Sheila about finding Sierra. Josh drew a map for the police, showing Sierra's route and indicating where they had parted ways, and agreed to let the police search his residence, motorcycle, and truck. The Joffin family affirmed that Josh took good care of Sierra and that they had never suspected he was involved in her disappearance. After investigating Josh, authorities found no evidence linking him to Sierra's disappearance, and he was subsequently removed from the suspect list. After confirming Sierra's boyfriend's innocence, investigators began to consider the possibility that she had been abducted by a stranger on her way home. Just as the search for Sierra was reaching a dead end, a witness came forward with information, stating that on the day Sierra was biking, he saw a man in red pants loitering near the area. However, with such limited information, the police were unable to confirm the identity or intentions of this man. 3 days after Sierra's disappearance, on July 22nd, her body was found buried in a shallow grave, concealed beneath corn stalks. Sierra was tightly bound with ropes and tape. Her mouth was stuffed with a large plastic ball, and her wrists were tied behind her back. The autopsy revealed that Sierra's cause of death was suffocation, with no signs of sexual assault. Upon hearing the news that her daughter had been murdered, Sheila broke down in tears, heartbroken, as Sierra had been planning to study abroad in the fall, but this horrific tragedy had stolen it all away. To her, Sierra was a compassionate, caring girl who always loved her family. Sheila Vakulik never imagined that her daughter would be murdered after a bike ride in their peaceful town. After Sierra's death, Sheila no longer dared to let her children go outside, even just for a breath of fresh air or a bike ride, for fear of a similar tragedy happening. Josh was shocked when he heard that Sierra had been killed by a murderer. He regretted not escorting her home after their fateful bike ride. Immediately after finding Sierra's body, the police launched an urgent investigation to track down the killer before he could escape. The police began speaking with James Worley, a man who lived on a large property near where the body was discovered. James ran a small engine repair shop and lived with his mother and brother. When asked about Sierra's case, James mentioned that he knew the cornfield area where her body was found. According to James, on the day Sierra was killed, he had ridden his motorcycle past that area, but unfortunately, his bike broke down on the way. On his way home to get help, he claimed that his helmet, sunglasses, and screwdriver had disappeared from his bike. James expressed annoyance, suggesting that someone had stolen those items. James's story made FBI agent Devin Lossick stifle a laugh as she noticed the absurdity in his statement. The police had never publicly disclosed information about those items to the media, yet somehow James listed them in exact detail, matching the items found at the scene where Sierra was abducted. Furthermore, he gave a bizarre explanation about his bike breaking down and the mysterious disappearance of those items. When investigators told him that these items were suspected to belong to Sierra's killer, James's expression immediately changed. He nervously insisted that he had nothing to do with the case. Nevertheless, the police obtained a warrant to search James's warehouse. Initially, they found nothing unusual. But upon closer inspection of one of James's storage sheds, they discovered a barrel full of women's underwear and an empty blood-stained freezer buried underground. In addition, the room reeked of a strong bleach odor, which horrified the investigators even more. Inside this terrifying warehouse, the police found various tools such as ropes, duct tape, handcuffs, guns, ammunition, recording equipment, and videotapes. Some women's underwear with price tags still attached were also found in the damp, dusty room. When questioned further, James admitted that he was addicted to pornography and had plans to open a private film studio to produce adult content as he pleased. According to James, the tools and underwear were all purchased online in preparation for his film production plans. When searching James's computer, the police found that he had spent hours accessing adult websites and saving his favorite content. Near the time of Sierra's disappearance, James's search history included multiple suspicious keywords such as gagging, kidnapping, and hitchhiking, which raised significant suspicion. It seemed that the similarity between the search keywords and the details of Sierra's abduction and death by gagging was no coincidence. Upon examining James's background, the police were shocked to uncover an extremely important clue. In the past, James had a criminal record for kidnapping a girl in a manner similar to Sierra's case, but that girl had survived. James had once kidnapped a girl named Robin Gardner on Obie Road in White House back in 1990. At that time, Robin was also riding her bike alone on an isolated road. Seeing the young, attractive girl, James suddenly drove his truck into her bicycle. Putting on a fake persona of kindness, he got out of his truck, acted as if he wanted to help, and even offered Robin a ride home. Taking advantage of Robin's lack of suspicion, he suddenly struck her on the head and tied her hands like a true predator. In this dangerous situation, Robin fought back and managed to slip out the other side of the vehicle to escape. She was fortunate to find a man nearby who helped her call the police and report the incident. James was arrested shortly after, but he brazenly claimed that he just wanted to teach Robin a lesson for cutting him off with her bike and then trying to run away. Nevertheless, James was convicted of kidnapping and sentenced to 4 to 10 years in prison with a possibility of parole. Due to good behavior, James was paroled after only 3 years, though in 2000 he was imprisoned again for cultivating marijuana. In 2002, James was once again released early after applying for parole. Following his second release, he opened a small engine repair shop. When Robin learned that the man who had once kidnapped her had gone on to kidnap another young girl nearly 3 decades later, a sense of helplessness overwhelmed her. Tears streamed down her face as she thought of the horrific ordeal that Sierra must have faced, just as Robin had endured all those years ago. I know exactly what it feels like to be held by him, to hear the insults, the hatred for women coming from his mouth. Robin sobbed as she recalled those horrifying memories. After the failed kidnapping attempt of Robin, 26 years later, James kidnapped Sierra Joffin, intending to make her an actress in his depraved pornographic films. However, due to a mistake, James accidentally killed Sierra. Realizing she was dead, he hurriedly buried her in a shallow grave near the cornfield. In his search for a female actress, James had stalked Sierra and noticed that she was heading home alone after parting ways with her boyfriend. Seeing the young girl biking alone through the cornfield, James waited for the right moment, then suddenly struck Sierra on the head with a helmet. After the attack, James left the scene, then returned with his truck to abduct Sierra and take her to the isolated warehouse in the middle of the field. To prevent Sierra from calling for help, he stuffed a yellow rubber ball into her mouth, a sex toy that he often used. However, James didn't realize that the ball was too large, blocking Sierra's airway and causing her death. Authorities found dozens of similar balls in James's warehouse where Sierra was discovered. Because James kidnapped Sierra with the intention of forcing her to film pornographic scenes, he did not sexually assault her. After his arrest, James Worley continued to vehemently deny all accusations that he had murdered Sierra Joffin. During the trial, FBI agent Vicki Anderson expressed suspicions that Robin Gardner and Sierra might not be Worley's only victims. According to investigations, Worley displayed characteristics of a serial offender, but the search of his horrifying warehouse did not uncover any other bodies or evidence of additional victims. In a court-ordered therapy session, Worley once stated that he learned from each kidnapping and vowed to cover up his next crime more thoroughly. These statements raised investigators' concerns that he might have committed multiple kidnappings and murders that had yet to be discovered. After James Worley's arrest, calls flooded in from various states across the U.S. with information regarding mysterious disappearances of young women. Agent Anderson noted that Worley, as a truck driver, had access to many locations, and some missing persons cases might be connected to him. In 1996, Worley was questioned by Toledo police after a young woman named Claudia Tinsley went missing. At the time, Claudia's mother claimed to have seen her daughter leaving in James's vehicle. However, he explained that he only drove Claudia Tinsley for about 45 minutes before dropping her off. Since then, Claudia Tinsley has disappeared without a trace, and James Worley was never charged in connection with her case. In a conversation with a private investigator, Worley's sister once hinted that he might have killed a sex worker in 2000, but without a body, James was not prosecuted. Additionally, there were rumors of another woman in the 1970s, whom Worley once described as the love of his life, also disappearing under mysterious circumstances. Before sentencing, Worley gave a rambling, 45-minute statement, claiming that someone else had kidnapped and killed Sierra to frame him. Worley's statement enraged the victim's family. Some even left the courtroom as he described Sierra as a beautiful girl while flashing a deranged smile. The jury decided to sentence Worley to the death penalty. Additionally, he received 11 years for kidnapping, 8 years for felony assault, and 11 months for possessing criminal tools. In March 2018, James Worley was sentenced to death. However, he and his defense attorneys continuously appealed the verdict. By July 2020, his attorneys had submitted a request to the Ohio Supreme Court to overturn the sentence and hold a new trial, citing mental health issues. However, the court denied the request and set the execution date for May 20, 2025. After Sierra's case was closed, her family established the nonprofit organization Justice for Sierra, aimed at protecting the community from repeat offender prisoners. Their advocacy helped pass Sierra's law, which allows for the creation of a searchable violent offender database in Ohio. Additionally, the Joffin family filed a wrongful death lawsuit over Sierra's death and received $3,600,000 in compensation, along with 3 acres of land owned by the perpetrator, James Worley. To ease their pain, they requested the demolition of the horrific warehouse where Sierra was held and murdered. Speaking about this decision, Sheila said that their family lives close to the area where the murderer resided. It would be difficult to continue living while constantly passing by a terrifying warehouse that they believe is where Sierra was killed. The image of that room remains an unending source of sorrow that a mother like Sheila cannot overcome. In May 2022, during an interview with a local television station, James Worley still insisted he was innocent and did not kill Sierra. He also sent a 105-page manifesto to the police department, claiming his innocence. In his manifesto, Worley continued to mention a case from 1996 involving the mysterious disappearance of a woman named Claudia Tinsley. Although the police suspected him of killing Claudia Tinsley, James repeatedly denied any involvement, claiming the police were deliberately steering the investigation toward him without solid evidence. What do you think? Is James Worley truly the perpetrator, or is he a victim of misunderstanding and wrongful accusations, as he claims? Specifically, could the 1996 disappearance, for which he was previously suspected, truly have been his doing? We eagerly await your perspectives and in-depth analysis of this case in the comments section. To provide the most comprehensive and accurate view, we have spent time meticulously researching and gathering information from numerous reliable sources. These sources include articles and documents from major news outlets such as ABC News, Oxygen, and others. We hope this information helps you understand every aspect of the case, allowing you to make precise and objective judgments. This concludes our video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. This helps us continue bringing you meaningful content. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.